Hello everyone, it's Becky here and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to a new video. We'll see how this video goes because although it's only 1 PM and I have all the lights possible on, it's just so dark everywhere that I don't even know if my camera will manage to keep me in focus, so we'll see. But if yes, what I would like to do today is a tag video because I haven't done a tag video for quite a while, and recently I came across this tag which is called Reader's Problem Tag, and I wasn't tagged to do this, but I found it on Berna's Bookish Adventure, which is absolutely amazing channel, and if you are not following her yet, you definitely should. And I found the questions quite interesting, so I thought I will steal the tag and the questions and I will answer them today. So without further ado, the question number 1 says, you have 20,000 books on your TBR. How in the world do you decide what to read next? This is a little tricky question, but I would say that what really helps me is have sort of like an idea at the beginning of the year which books I would like to read, and that's also how I choose which books have a priority before the other ones. And then I like to, as you may be seen in my previous videos, I like to create like buddy reads list. So when I speak about these books which I have on my TBR, and then I ask people if they want to buddy read with me, and then I try to come up with schedule when I'm going to be reading what and with who. And if meanwhile I have some more time, I just pick up some other books which I have on my existing TBR. But most of the time it's just me really kind of being a mood reader, but I don't know if I really agree with this, because I think that deep down we are all mood readers. Like, we can have the TBR, but I still think that even the TBR is somehow constructed according to our moods and what we feel like we might want to read in the close future. If we are doing, let's say, TBR for upcoming month, and if we don't like it, we're just changing to another book. So yeah, I think it's very much depending on my feelings, how I feel about certain books or genres in the time of the year. Right, question number 2. You're halfway through a book and you're just not loving it. Do you quit it or are you committed? Most of the time, if I don't like the book, I just quit it. Like, I learned to DNF books last year especially, and it really helped me, because usually what happened was that because see, I am a committed person in everything I do in life, and when it comes to reading, that's the same. However, I realized that when I really try to push myself to finish some book which I'm not enjoying, it's just really push me into reading slump, and it takes me a long time to get out of it. So I just decided that if I don't like the book to the certain point, or there is just something which really does not sit well with me, I just don't read the book anymore, which also happened in January already. But I will tell you about it a little bit later. Or did I already publish my video? I'll see. My January wrap-up, I'll be speaking, or I did speak about it a little bit more. Question number 3. The end of the year is coming and you are so close, but so far on your Goodreads reading challenge. Do you try to catch up, and how? First of all, I do not have Goodreads. Well, I do have actually Goodreads account. I started it last year, but I'm not really using it actively, which is something I wanted to do this year, or I wanted to start doing this year. But when it comes to like reading challenges, I did not set myself a reading goal for this year, because basically what happened when I started BookTube is I just started to read so much more. And at the first year when I was on the BookTube, I read 40 books within a year, and last year I read 39, which was actually 1 book less. And I knew that I could really push myself and set myself some goal, but I know that I think I would be really stressed about it, and when I would be, you know, getting closer, I would be trying to fit in as many books as possible, but maybe I would not enjoy them as much because I would just try to go through them very quickly. So I just decided not to set myself any goal and just read whatever I want, whenever I want, and how much I want to. So even if I would read less books, let's say, because I will maybe have busy year with other stuff, that's okay. And if I read more books, that's even better, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, question number 4. The covers of a series you love do not match. How do you cope? Well, I do not really have series in my bookshelves, but let's say editions in my case, so I do not really mind. I can appreciate when some edition or cover is beautiful, but I don't really mind if I have books, let's say, from the same author from different editions, which is the case of, let's say, my collection of Daphne du Maurier books, because I think so far I have 3 or 4 different editions, and I have them in different languages. So I have several books, I think 4 of them now from one edition. I can check later on which editions those are. Then I have another ones, and then one which are in Slovak and are very old, so at least 3 different editions of Daphne du Maurier books, and they do not match perfectly with size or colors when I have them in my bookshelves, but I don't really care. Question number 5. Everyone and their mother loves a book you really don't like. How or who do you bond with over shared feelings? I think like a booktube community is a great place to connect regarding any feelings we have about books, and I would say that even if everyone loves the book and I don't, I think that I'm really surrounded with people with whom I'm feeling safe to discuss my opinion, even if it's different. So I think I could still, to some level, you know, share with them and bond with them, but it would not be with necessarily exactly same feelings or opinions, but that's still fine. But other than that, booktube is a great place for it. A sequel of a book you love just came out, but you've forgotten a lot from the prior novel. Will you reread the book, skip the sequel, try to find a synopsis on Goodreads, or cry in a frustration? Yeah, as I mentioned, that happens very rarely to me, that I would need to read some sequel, because I usually, if I read, let's say, fantasy, I really try to read standalone books for this exact reason. Ones that I might not really remember it, but also if the book is really good, I just cannot really bring myself to be so frustrated to waiting for another book to come out, so I just don't torture myself like this, and that's why I rather read just standalones. But I think that depends how long time has passed. I might either read at least synopsis of the first book and see if that helps, or I might just skip through some pages, or if I really love the book, I'll just reread it, but I don't really know from my own experience yet. Question number 8. You do not want anyone borrowing your books. How do you politely tell people nope when they ask? So this is kind of weird, because I do love borrowing books to people, lending books to people, but the thing is that I'm kind of weirdo when it comes to books and keeping books in a certain shape. So sometimes, or very often, I do like to write directly into the books and take notes, and even using a pen or different colors. So I do not mind when the book is a little bit used and it's very obvious. But then there are two things. First of all, I wouldn't mind borrowing that book, because I don't really care if the person, you know, I know they will take care of the book, but they don't need to really like be too careful. However, because I do have there some personal notes, I don't really know if I want everyone to read this. And then, for example, when I have other books, sometimes, for example, this is the case of The Lonely Castle in a Mirror, which I absolutely adore the cover, and when I was reading it, I just somehow managed to read it in a way that I did not even break the spine, and I was literally reading it like this. And I think that I would be really worried to lend this book to someone, because, for example, my flatmate, she is doing dog ears in books, and I cannot get over it. Like, no, like, dog ears are just so wrong, because that's why we have bookmarks and millions of other things you can put into the book, but just not dog ears. So it also depends, I guess, who I am lending the book to. But if I would really not want to borrow it, I don't know what I would say. I don't know. Okay, doke. Question number 9. You pick up and put down 5 books in the last month. How do you get over your reading slump? I've been to reading slump a couple times previously, and I think that usually for me what worked was just to take the time off, and I did not read many books for, let's say, even a month, and then I started with some book I really like, or I was really anticipating the book, but I think that sometimes I do need the time off without the books and just focus on something else, and then naturally it just comes back to me and I really crave reading more. Okay, dog, one more question. Oh no, 2. There are so many new books coming out that you are dying to read. How many do you actually buy? That depends, because as you know, I do not really follow new releases as much. I always have a list of the books which I know I would love to read at some point, but I don't really care if it's immediately as the books comes out. And it also depends, like, let's say now if I finally have a job, I will be able to buy even a new books. So that might change very quickly, but for now I don't really mind deciding which one. Was that the question? And the last question, after you bought the new books you can't wait to get to, how long do they sit on your shelf before you get to them? Usually no longer than a couple days, because I actually do not really have a physical TBR, which would be, you know, like 100 books stuck on my bookshelf waiting to be read. No, usually because also I was traveling quite a lot last year and moving, I really have only let's say 4 books, I think, on my bookshelf which I actually have not read yet, and those are the ones which I spontaneously bought in charity shops for £1, so I did not really plan reading them, but I just found them and I thought that I would like to read them at some point in the future. But then usually if I really go buy some books, that's with the intention of reading them immediately, so I do not really have a massive TBR. Yeah, I think that's it. So those are all the questions. I hope you enjoyed this. I would love to hear your responses to some of these questions, and I would also like to tag some people, and I was thinking it would be quite fun to tag all the people I am doing a buddy read with, or actually read along of Three Musketeers, because that started a couple days ago and I'm super buzzing about it. So I will tag all those people in the description box, and you can definitely go and check their channels out because they're all absolutely amazing. I love them very much. And yeah, I hope you've been keeping well and safe, and hopefully to see you soon with another video. Take care, bye bye!